Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Naked Eye podcast. This is Nathan Oxenfeld coming to you today at the end of April 2018. And I'm trying something a little new and different by doing a video intro as well as an interactive video component to this episode. So if you're listening to the audio only version, that's totally fine. You can totally just listen along and follow along using your own book or reading material later in this episode. Or at some point, whenever you get a chance, you may want to head over to YouTube and check out the video version as well. But before we dive into today's episode, I just want to share how excited I am that I just finished editing the new third edition of my book, Give Up Your Glasses for Good, Holistic Eye Care for the 21st Century. And I'm going to be going on multiple travels later this year, offering different types of book launch events, eye yoga workshops, and holistic vision improvement events. So in May, I'm going to be up in Minneapolis. In June, I'm going to be up and down the East Coast of the U.S. And in October, I'm going to be over on the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest. So if you live in any of those areas and you want to come out and meet me in person and participate in a live workshop, head over to my website, integraleyesight.com/tour, T-O-U-R. to get all the details, dates, locations, times, and tickets and everything like that. And I'll be releasing more information in next month's episode. But until then, head over to my website to get all the information. And if you don't live in any of those areas and you can still get a copy of my new book online because I'm going to be publishing it on Amazon. So I'm collecting a list of people and people's emails who are interested in getting the new copy. And if you sign up, you head over to that website and sign up, you'll be one of the first people to know that it is available, it's for sale online, and you can get your own copy. Because I'm really excited about some of the changes and improvements that I've made to the book since I first published it 3 years ago in 2015. So I've been getting a lot of feedback from people and figuring out what works even better. So this new version is going to produce even more results for even more people from all over the world. So I'm really excited not only to be releasing this, but also to be setting up multiple events this spring and summer and fall all over the place to share this with more people. Now, I'm also very excited about today's episode because I'm going to be sharing a very powerful series of techniques and some very powerful information that if you apply to your life, it can potentially totally transform your vision and your vision habits. Specifically when it comes to reading both up close, regular books and cell phones and tablets and computers and etc., things up close within arm's length, but also to help you read things in the distance. So applying this to your eye charts in the distance, as well as in real world situations, reading signs, road signs, license plates, reading anything in the distance, and also just applying this to your distance vision in general. So what I'll be doing in today's episode is playing you a recording of a recent vision hall that I taught of me reading an excerpt from Aldous Huxley's book, The Art of Seeing, where he outlines a series of simple techniques and strategies to apply to your eyes and your vision while reading to actually encourage clear flashes, these flashes of clarity and momentary improvements in your vision without glasses, so that you can build and develop the skill of dynamic relaxation and clear vision naturally. Now, if you're wondering what a vision hall is, it's kind of like a study hall, but for your vision. And it's something that I offer to my vision students who sign up for one of my online courses, either my holistic vision program or my 12-week online group vision improvement course. They get access to these private Facebook groups where I teach 1 or 2 vision halls per month, which provides ongoing support, instruction, and accountability for these people who are going through my programs or working with me as their vision coach. So in today's episode, you're actually going to get a little taste, a little preview of part of what a vision hall is like. So if you're interested in getting involved in participating in full vision halls on an ongoing monthly basis, check out one of my programs. You can head over to my website and learn about the individual 6-week holistic vision program that you can start whenever you want, go through at your own pace. Or there may be an upcoming group course that I might be starting soon that you can participate in with me and a group of other students going through the process as well. So signing up for either one of those courses gets you access into the private Facebook groups so that you can participate in the vision halls and get even more ongoing support and guidance than what you get already from this free podcast. But without further ado, I'm going to switch over to the recording, and I invite you to actually listen along and either palm your eyes while you listen so that you can imagine doing these things or visualize what you're hearing, or you can also apply these techniques as you're listening. So the video component of the reading is I'm going to be putting some words and sentences up on the screen that will allow you to apply the techniques that I'm explaining in the reading in real time so that you can maybe even experience a flash of clarity while watching this video or listening along, and applying this in a paperback book in your hand or with something on a screen. So you can apply this with the video that you're watching or with anything in general. And at the very beginning of my new book, there's an outline or a guide that shows you even more in depth and in detail of how to use these techniques and apply them to your life to turn reading into something that actually improves your vision over time. If you're farsighted, it's about improving your reading up close to get more clarity near. If you're nearsighted, it's about improving your distance vision and learning how to read more clearly in the distance using different kinds of eye charts. So this will be one of the first of hopefully many videos that I will release moving forward in the future of giving you more guidance and instruction of how to keep progressing with your vision practice using vision tools, eye charts, reading cards, things like this. So I hope you enjoy, and I'd appreciate any feedback. Definitely share in the comments or experiences, especially if you have any positive experiences or improvements or clear flashes by actually applying the techniques that you're about to learn in this episode. So I'd encourage you to get into a nice, comfortable palming position and listen along as I read this excerpt to you out loud from Aldous Huxley's book, The Art of Seeing. And whenever you're palming, it's always a perfect opportunity to be practicing your inner vision, your visualization, your memory, and your imagination. So as you hear my voice, you hear the words enter your ears, just let them create some mental pictures based off of what you are hearing. So this is from chapter 17 of his book called Some Difficult Seeing Situations. He writes, "In the present chapter, I propose to discuss the ways in which the fundamental rules of the art of seeing may be applied to certain common situations which persons with defective vision are apt to find particularly trying." Reading. When we read, we are assailed, if our vision is at all defective, by particularly strong temptations to use our eyes and mind in the wrong way. Our interest in what we read intensifies our all too human proclivity towards end gaining. We are so greedy to get the greatest possible amount of print in the shortest possible time that we utterly neglect the normal and natural means whereby such an end may be achieved. Improper functioning becomes habitual with us, and our vision is further impaired. The first thing we have to do is to realize that end gaining is self-stultifying, and that where reading is concerned, we ourselves are end gainers. The next is to inhibit, whenever we read, the manifestations of our impatience and our intellectual gluttony. In the early stages of visual re-education, clear and effortless reading cannot be accomplished without plenty of rest and relaxation. In other words, relaxation is one of the principal means whereby we can achieve our end, which is to see as much print as possible in the shortest possible time, with the least possible fatigue, and the highest degree of intellectual efficiency. Consequently, when we inhibit the manifestations of our impatience and greed, this should be done, first of all, for the sake of giving our eyes and minds the relaxation which they so urgently need, but of which they are perpetually depriving themselves through their habits of improper use. To provide the eyes and mind with adequate relaxation, one should, while reading, adopt the following simple procedures. First, close the eyes for a second or two at the end of every sentence or every other sentence. Let go and visualize the last word you have read and the punctuation mark by which it is followed. When you open your eyes again, look first at this remembered word and punctuation mark, which will seem to be perceptibly more distinct than they were when originally read. Then go on to the next sentence. Second, at the end of every page or two, interrupt yourself for a couple of minutes to palm the eyes. To greedy end gainers, this will seem the most intolerable hardship, but let them reflect that these interruptions will bring them more easily and expeditiously to their goal. Although this, quote, mortification of their impatience will probably be very good for their characters. Third, if sunlight is available, take the sun on the closed eyes before palming, and again on the closed lids after. If there is no sun, bathe the eyes in the light of a strong electrical lamp. Fourth, while reading, sit where you can see a calendar or other perfectly familiar piece of large type reading matter, like an eye chart, hanging on a distant wall. Raise your eyes from the book occasionally and look analytically at the letters or numerals. If you are reading by daylight, look out of the window sometimes into the far distance. Fifth, memory and imagination can be enlisted in the service of better reading. Pause from time to time, let go, and remember a single letter or word recently regarded. See it with the inward eye, in terms of the white background surrounding it and contained within it. Then imagine the whiteness of the background as being whiter than when you actually saw it. Reopen, look at the whiteness around and within the real letters, and try to see it as white as the imaginary background you visualized with your eyes shut. Close the eyes once more and begin again. After 2 or 3 repetitions, palm for a little while, and then go on reading. As an alternative exercise, close your eyes, remember a recently seen letter, take an imaginary pen, and place a dot of intenser blackness at its top and base, or at its left hand and right hand extremities. Shift the attention from dot to dot, half a dozen times. Then open the eyes and, imagining that you see similar dots of intenser blackness of the real letter, do the same. Repeat this procedure several times. Palm and continue your reading. Sixth, in the chapter on long sight, I gave an account of the way in which presbyopes could improve their reading vision by looking effortlessly at very small print, more especially at the white spaces between the lines. The benefits of this drill are not confined to elderly people with failing sight. Anyone who has difficulty in reading may profitably make use of this procedure at the beginning of a period of study and at intervals during this period. So much for the simple relaxation techniques by which a session with book or newspaper should be prefaced and interrupted. Let us now consider the proper way of performing the act of reading itself. Here, as in all other seeing situations, the great enemies of normal vision are strain, misdirected attention, staring. In order to overcome these enemies, one must be careful while reading to obey the following simple rules. First, do not hold your breath or keep the eyelids rigid and unmoving for long periods. Blink frequently and breathe regularly, gently, and fully. Second, do not stare or try to see every part of a whole line or phrase equally well. Keep the eyes and attention continually moving, and so bring central fixation into play. This is best accomplished by making the eyes hurry continuously back and forth in the white space immediately under the line of print which is being read. Words and letters are thus caught, as it were, between a succession of short swings. At first, this technique of reading by rapid movements of the eyes in the white spaces between the lines may seem somewhat disconcerting. But after a little time, we shall discover that it contributes not a little to clear and effortless reading. Letters and words are seen more easily when they are, so to speak, on the wing than when immobilized by a fixed stare. More easily, too, when they are considered as interruptions to a plain white background than when looked at as things existing in their own right and requiring to be deciphered. Third, do not frown when you read. Frowning is a symptom of the nervous muscular tension produced in and around the eyes by misdirected attention and the effort to see. With the achievement of dynamic relaxation and normal functioning, the habit of frowning will disappear of itself. But its departure may be accelerated and the physical and mental tensions relieved by frequent and deliberate acts of inhibition. In the midst of reading, suddenly turn around upon yourself and catch your facial muscles at their tricks. Then close the eyes for a moment, let go, and deliberately smooth the brows. Fourth, do not half close the eyelids when you read. Unlike frowning, this procedure has a purpose. By half closing the eyelids, we reduce the size of the normal visual field, and in this way eliminate some of the distracting stimuli and diffused illumination coming to the eyes from those parts of the page which are not being looked at. Most persons with defects of vision do their reading through a narrow loophole between their eyelashes, but the tendency is especially marked among those who have opacities in the cornea or other normally transparent tissues of the eyes. Such opacities act in much the same way as do the particles of water vapor suspended in the air on an autumn morning. They disperse the light in a kind of luminous fog, through which it is hard to see distinctly. Partial closure of the lids has the effect of cutting off much of the illuminated field, and so reducing the density of the fog caused by the scattering of light. But the narrowing of the aperture between the lids demands a continuous muscular effort. This effort increases the tension in and around the eyes and is reflected by an intensification of the psychological tensions in the mind. Looking between half-closed lids is undoubtedly a way of getting an immediate improvement of vision, but this immediate improvement must be paid for in the future, for it can be had only at the high cost of increased strain and fatigue, and a progressive further impairment of the power of seeing. It is therefore very important to find a method for correcting this most undesirable tendency. Conscious relaxation of the lids so that they remain untensed and open at their normal span will not be sufficient. Indeed, it is likely to result in our seeing a good deal worse than before, so that in mere self-protection we shall have to turn back to our old bad habits. Fortunately, however, there is a very simple mechanical method for getting the results achieved by half closing the eyes. Instead of cutting out distractions and unneeded illumination at the receiving end, that is to say, in the eye, we cut them out at the source on the printed page. All that is needed is a sheet of stout black paper, a ruler, and a sharp knife. Then he spends a little bit of time explaining how to make this thing called a slot reader. It's just a slot cut out of a black piece of paper that you lay on top of the page that you're reading so that only one sentence or two sentences are visible. The black page covers up all the other sentences that you're not reading. So he goes on for a couple pages actually to kind of explain that, but I'll just pick up here. He says about the slot reader. Reading through a slot facilitates that anti-stare technique of which I have already spoken, the rapid shifting to and fro on the white space immediately under the print. The straight edge of the black paper acts as a sort of a railway track along which the eyes travel easily and smoothly. Furthermore, the task of imaginatively seeing the white spaces between the lines as whiter than they really are is facilitated when these white spaces are regarded in contact with the contrasting black frame. In certain cases, the habit of trying to see clearly too much print at the same time may be rapidly corrected by making use of a small slot, not more than 3/4 of an inch long. Such a slot will permit its user to see only so much of the given line as can be taken in by the macula lutea, and rapid shifting within this confined space will bring the fovea into play, which is the center of the macula. In this way, the central area of the retina will be stimulated and set to work as it never was when the impossible attempt was made to see whole phrases and lines equally well at the same time. So thank you so much for listening and or watching today's episode of the Naked Eye Podcast. And I'd invite you to head over to my website, integraleyesight.com, for more information about previous episodes of the Naked Eye Podcast, the upcoming release of my new edition of my book, Give Up Your Glasses for Good, Holistic Eye Care for the 21st Century, or information about the upcoming book tours surrounding the release of that new book, as well as information about my ongoing online vision improvement courses and group classes. So lots going on, and hopefully you can find some way to get involved with this work, whether it's in person in one of these events I'm going to be teaching this year in 2018, or we can always correspond online through online coaching or online courses. And hopefully you can use the new version of my book to take your vision practice to the whole next level and continue to get inspiration and little vision tips and reminders from me through this podcast and through my YouTube channel. So I really appreciate you being a listener and a watcher and a subscriber and a visionary. So I want to thank you again for spending time with me today, and I wish you some happy and relaxed and clear reading.